kids are going to go back to school, and there's always a lot of anxiety when kids go back to school. So we thought we'd talk to somebody. Her name is Leigh Richardson, and she is the founder of the Brain Performance Center. And if I can get the mouse to work, there we go. And she is on our Newsmaker line. Hi, Leigh. How are you?
Hi, Simon. I'm well, thank you.
Excellent. So it is a tricky time, isn't it, when kids go back to school, for a lot of them?
Boy, it is. You know, kids are anxious. Parents are anxious. There's so much uncertainty. Maybe it's a new school that you're going to have to go to. Maybe you've moved and you don't know anybody in the school where you're going to be going. So, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're going into elementary school or middle school or high school or even college. It is a stressful, anxious time.
Right. If it's a new building, particularly, right, let's start with you don't know where you are. You don't know where stuff is. You've got to figure that out. I mean, very simplistic stuff, right?
Very simple. But, you know, if you don't know how to get to the restroom, if you don't know how to get to the lunchroom, if you don't know where you're supposed to be dropped off in the morning, if you've never ridden a bus before and this year you're going to, there's just so many variables. And when we don't know any of them, they just accumulate. And all of a sudden, it's overwhelming.
Okay, so you're the founder of the Brain Performance Center, which I'm looking forward to finding more about that in a minute. So how do we get rid of some of this anxiety from kids and parents?
Well, I think the best thing that you can do is, Simon, is to talk about it. We even have put together a little coaching consultation program around back-to-school anxiety for parents and for kids, because parents get caught up in, oh, my gosh, you know, I've got to get all new clothes, new shoes, blah, blah, blah. And then they're in their anxious state, and maybe they don't pick up on their kids' anxiety because it manifests very differently. When you're in elementary school, maybe you have a stomach ache. Maybe you quit eating. When you get to middle school, maybe your behavior becomes a little more impulsive. Maybe you're not sleeping as well. When you get to high school, maybe you get a little more resistant. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. And then, you know, the most anxious time for kids going to school is that transition into college, because of maybe a new city, maybe you're living with somebody you've never even met before, maybe the closest bathroom that you have is down the hall, and you're at the far end of the corner.
Well, we've got one going. So we've got a college freshman. She's be going to UNI, the University of Northern Iowa, and so that's exciting.
That is exciting. And with that excitement also comes a little bit of fear, you know, that fight, flight, or freeze mode that we can all get into when we feel a little overwhelmed with things. So let me ask you, Simon, have you had some good conversations with her?
We've had some conversations, yeah. I mean, she's met her roommate. She's decided to stay in dorms for a couple of years. So, yeah, we've spoken about some stuff.
So have you thought about maybe getting a good idea of what resources are going to be available on the campus and sharing those with her?
Yeah, we went to orientation. That was a full day. And, yeah, we've talked a lot about that stuff.
That's great, because that information, and when you can play it back to her, when you hear the same thing that she hears, and you can, when she calls and she's a little uncertain, and you can play that back to her, oh, yeah, okay, that takes that fight or flight out of it. So that's a great first step.
Yeah, well, I think she's going to do fine. How about the little ones?
Well, the little ones, you know, they're probably better at hiding it. They're, you know, the older the kids get, the more vocal they tend to get. And the little ones, what I always tell parents, look for changes in their behavior. Are they having trouble going to sleep? Whereas they never, you know, they always went to sleep right away. Are they socially isolating? Are they pulling back from their family or their friends? What changes in their behavior do you see? Because they may not know how to tell you what they're feeling.
Well, right. So what can parents do to help that?
I think what they can do is, the power of observation is a very powerful skill. Use it. Pay attention to how are they doing? And during this time, make a special point to say every other day, I want to touch in and say, gee, I know we've talked about going back to school. I know we bought school supplies today. How are you feeling about that? Is there anything that worries you? Hey, do you want to get in the car and do you want to drive the new route to your school? Just anything that you can do to make them feel more familiar and more comfortable with what's going to happen.
Okay, we're talking to Leigh Richardson. She is the founder of something called the Brain Performance Center. What is that?
Well, what that is, that's a center that focuses on brain health. I mean, we all know what physical health is, but brain health is when your brain is in a regulated state. When our brain gets dysregulated, maybe we get anxious, maybe we get depressed, ADHD, OCD. And so understanding that everything you do, how well you do it, or you don't do it, all depends on what's going on in the brain.
Okay. And how do we find out what's going on in the brain?
Well, the first thing that we do is we map the brain a couple of different ways. We actually stick a cap on your head that's got 19 little built-in sensors, and we record at least 20 minutes of data. 10 minutes eyes open and 10 minutes eyes closed. Yeah, it can be a little difficult, but we can be very patient and take some breaks and giggle a little bit and get on with it. And then we'll also map the brain another way that looks at neuroplasticity. And from that information, we can see the power in the brain. We can see coherence, how the brain shares information. We can see the timing in the brain. Is it too fast or is it too slow? Doesn't matter. It's just a dysregulated brain. We do a lot of coaching. We do a lot of psychotherapy, as well as neurofeedback and neuromodulation.
Well, I'm not sure what those last things were, but that's okay. That's okay. If you're sending a kid back to school at any level, maybe it's the first school. Is it different if it's the first time you're sending a kid to school, literally, first grade or kindergarten?
Well, and I think, sometimes in that situation, the parent is more anxious than the kid is. And then the kid picks up on the parent's anxiety. It's the snowball.
Mm-hmm. So be confident.
Be confident. Be sure. Be as open and honest. I see nothing wrong with saying, gee, this is the first time you're going to school. I'm a little nervous about that. Are you? Open the door for conversation.
All righty. Well, Leigh, thank you very much. If people want to get hold of you or find out more about you, where do they go?
Well, we've got that good old-fashioned website, the Brain Performance Center. We're on Facebook, Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, and we have a YouTube channel.
There you go.
So
the Brain Performance
on YouTube.
thebrainperformancecenter.com, I'm assuming. Leigh, thank you very much for joining us. I really do appreciate it.